This video is sponsored by Squarespace. One of my absolute biggest issues when I'm on the road is connectivity. I'm always out of the house bouncing between photo and video shoots, and I frequently road trip for work, so I'll travel to other cities or jobs with my car so that I can bring all of my gear with me. Now, when I'm on the go, computing power isn't an issue. I've got my M1 Max MacBook Pro that pretty much handles anything that I throw at it, and storage is not an issue either. I carry plenty of SSDs with me so I can store the footage that I shoot, but really the biggest bottleneck that I find to be a serious issue is getting online. Like just recently, I embarked on a 10-day road trip from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Seattle, Washington, shooting for Mini Cooper, and as you can imagine, driving through the mountains and in those thick forests, I had some areas where I was without cell service for hours. This made it really difficult to communicate with the rest of the team that was helping capture this event when we all went into an area where there was absolutely no cell service. It was kind of like every man for themselves. It also made it difficult to move around photo and video files during the day. A lot of what we were shooting was being posted that same day, so we were moving incredibly fast, and being able to upload my photos and videos right then and there on a high-speed connection in the middle of nowhere would have been great. Instead, I had to wait till that night to get to the hotel to hopefully get a good Wi-Fi connection, which usually wasn't the case. So while I was on this trip, I finally caved and ordered the new Starlink Mini terminal because I was sick of always being in dead zones where I couldn't even send a text message. There were so many opportunities where I was in the middle of nowhere with a direct line of sight to the sky, and had I had the Starlink Mini with me, I would have high-speed internet no matter where I was on my route. So since then, I've been using Starlink Mini every single day when I'm out on the road to connect to internet wherever I'm at. And let me tell you, it really has changed the game for me as somebody that, again, is always on the go. So in this video, what I want to do is share with you my experience of being a traveling photographer and videographer using Starlink Mini to stay connected when I'm on the road. Now, let me just say, this thing is not cheap. It's $600 for the satellite. That also has a router built in, so it's kind of an all-in-one system. And there are a few plans that you can choose from depending on your usage and workload. This is bound to change over the course of the next few years, so note the date that I put here on the screen, as they might run sales on the terminal itself and they might offer different plans or change the prices in the future. Be sure to check out Starlink's website if you want the most up-to-date pricing information. Now, currently I am on the mobile regional plan, so I get unlimited data when I am on land and stationary, so I pay $150 every single month. Even that monthly plan seems a little bit expensive when you consider the Starlink Mini is really made to be used when you're away from home. So you've got to figure, how much are you actually going to get use out of the satellite? You could use Starlink Mini when you're at home, although remember, the router is built into the actual satellite itself. So if you put it up on your roof, you're then connecting to a router that's up on your roof. So therefore, if you're going to be using it at home, you might be better off with Starlink's original terminal that has the separate router that can go inside of your house. So again, this thing is pretty much used primarily on the go for me. I live in an apartment building, so it wouldn't make sense to actually mount this on the outside or try to jerry-rig it outside of a window. I've also got gig internet here at home through Verizon, and then my unlimited plan, my 5G unlimited plan when I'm on the go is through Verizon as well. For home internet, I pay $90 a month, and for my unlimited plan with my cell phone, I pay $50 a month. So think about that. My home internet and my 5G unlimited plan, when combined, is $140, still making it less per month than just my Starlink Mini subscription. Yet, I still think it's worth it because it gives me really great coverage wherever I'm at, as long as I can see the sky. So let's briefly touch on how Starlink Mini works. This is an all-in-one system, as I've mentioned, meaning it's the satellite and the router all in one unit. The unboxing is incredibly minimal, as you have an optional mount, a power brick, the satellite itself, and a very long power cord. In order to proceed with the setup, you'll need to download the Starlink app on your phone, connect the satellite to power, point it at the sky, and proceed through the steps in the app. It is really straightforward and will require you to enter some information, update the terminal, and set up your Wi-Fi network. After everything is set up, whenever you want internet, all you need to do is plug in Starlink Mini, point it at the sky, allow it to initialize and find its location, and then boom, you've got internet. You've got a high-speed connection no matter where you're at, just like you'd get when you're at home. Now, speaking of that initialization process, this can take a little bit of time. Like, it's not comparable to, say, using a personal hotspot where you turn it on and then you have internet access immediately. For this reason, if I get somewhere where I know I'm going to need internet, I'll set up my Starlink Mini as soon as I get on site. Then I'll set up my other equipment, say my drones and other camera stuff. And by the time everything is ready to go, I've got a connection on Starlink Mini and it's emitting a Wi-Fi signal. So there's like 3 phases, I would call them, that goes into Starlink Mini when you want to get on the line. So first is your power up. There's no actual physical on switch. You just kind of plug it into power, and once it receives power, it turns on and starts booting up. From there, it does its whole initialization and orientation process. So it's going to figure out where it's located on Earth. It's going to figure out its orientation and which way it's pointing in the sky and try to receive satellites from there. And then it goes into a 12-hour stabilization period. Yes, I said 12 hours. This seems to be something that Starlink, I guess, recommends and says, hey, you should wait 12 hours to see the highest peak speeds. Personally, I've never been in a position where I've had this turned on for more than, say, 4 or 5 hours, because I'm usually at a site, I set up Starlink Mini, I get internet, and then I move on. But quite frankly, after only 5 or 10 minutes of setting this up and allowing it to initialize, I'm getting more than usable speeds. Like, I'm getting 150 megabits per second down and, say, 20 megabits per second up. So I still get great speeds regardless of letting it go through that 12-hour stabilization period. Okay, so before we get into how I've been using Starlink Mini, here's a quick word from this video sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is my all-in-one tool to share and manage my content. The layout that I've chosen gives me the ability to share my videos, photos, and general information with my audience on my own terms, so I get to choose how it's displayed. After choosing from one of their many templates, I was able to fully customize the experience quickly and efficiently with the new Fluid engine that makes building out your website a breeze. All the elements that Squarespace offers gives me so many different options to feature the images and content on my web pages. This also makes my website easy to maintain over time, so I can spend less time updating my website and more time creating. Squarespace also offers flexible payment options to users that decide they want to sell goods through their website. In my case, it would be prints, presets, or anything else photography related. To keep on top of how my website is performing, Squarespace's analytics go in depth so that I can see how much traffic my website is getting, what area of my website is being viewed the most, and I can see which web pages and which content is performing the best. So a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and helping me display my work online for over half a decade. Okay, now I want to get into a comparison of cellular versus satellite. Starlink Mini's satellite internet connection versus a hotspot's cellular internet connection. Now, I don't want to compare this to my iPhone's personal hotspot. Instead, I want to use an actual dedicated hotspot. So this is on the Verizon network. I couldn't tell you the make and model of this hotspot. It is fairly new. It is a 5G hotspot, so it does provide really good connection, but really, I'm up against two big issues right off the bat. It's on Verizon's network, so if I don't have internet connection on my iPhone, which is on Verizon's network, I'm not gonna get better connection on a personal hotspot. So it goes by way of Verizon's towers. And also, I don't have unlimited data on this. I'm not sure of any personal hotspot or hotspot out there that offers unlimited data, truly unlimited data at full speeds. This will slow down at a certain amount, which is 150 gigs. And guess what? I have 15 days left in my cycle, and I have already used 140 gigs. So after one half of the month, I am already almost fully through my full data limit on my hotspot. And after that, I think the speeds slowed down to 600 kilobits per second, which basically means it's unusable. One thing that definitely is on its side though is the size. It is way smaller than the Starlink Mini, and it has a built-in battery so that I can just power it on and use it wherever I want. Starlink Mini instead needs to be plugged into a power source and doesn't have a built-in battery. So there are definitely pros and cons to both of these systems. I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. It really comes down to what you value the most in a portable internet system. Like, even though Starlink Mini gets a ton of usage, I'm still going to keep this and make it active so that I can bring it with me inside of my backpack or my pocket, or I can keep it inside of my car to get quick internet access wherever I'm at, or at least kind of wherever I'm at. Now here is a brief list for you of the areas that each of these devices excel. If you made me choose one, I'd probably choose Starlink over the hotspot just because it provides such a stable connection. I can get internet anywhere that I can see the sky, like in the middle of a national park or other desolate areas, and I don't have to worry about running out of data, as Starlink offers a fully, truly unlimited plan with no throttling, so I can use as much high-speed data as I want. As I mentioned, to my knowledge, at the time of filming this video, none of the big carriers offer a fully unlimited plan with their hotspots. Now, Starlink Mini is supposed to be portable, and it is, but to a certain extent, as this is the power cord. This is what you get in the box to power Starlink Mini. So you can bring this with you wherever you want, but you still need to be tied down to some sort of power source that uses an AC outlet. So you need to find a traditional plug to get internet through Starlink Mini, and it also comes with this massive cable. I think coming with a big cable is good because you might have a power source in one spot and then you need to drape the satellite out further to get a better connection. So long cable is good, but the fact that you need to plug it in over an AC outlet, that kind of kills the portability for me. Plot twist though, what completely changed the game is this small adapter that lets me power my Starlink Mini with a USB-C cord, which opens up the opportunity to use a lot of different portable power stations and batteries. The one thing that you have to be careful with though is when using a USB-C connection, you need to make sure that every single component is capable of delivering enough power to Starlink Mini. So you've got a bottleneck of the actual brick that goes into the wall, you've got the bottleneck of the actual cord, and then you've got a bottleneck of the actual adapter as well. So you need to make sure that every single component is rated for a high enough wattage output to go into Starlink Mini, whereas if you can find any AC outlet, you know it's going to deliver enough power because of course it's an outlet that's right in the wall. Having used my Starlink with a portable power station that reads how much power it's supplying, I've found that it needs a maximum of about 45 watts to initially turn on, and then it will usually drop down to about 23 watts when it's finished booting up and it's just supplying internet over the course of a longer duration. That really isn't a whole lot of power necessary to run a Starlink Mini, but again, you've got to be careful. Like I wouldn't be able to plug this directly into a USB-C port inside of my Tesla Model Y because I think those USB-C ports output like a maximum of 12 watts, which again isn't enough to power Starlink Mini, so I would need some sort of battery that outputs a higher wattage. I could go the route of using an inverter that plugs into my car, but instead I like to carry around the DJI Power 500 power station. It has a 512 watt-hour battery and can power the satellite for an estimated 14 hours when fully charged. This allows me to put it out in the open wherever I can get the best line of sight to the sky and let it run for as long as I need to. I'm not going to be tied down to my car. I can move this as one big unit again, wherever it's going to get me the best connection to those satellites. There are so many other ways that you can keep Starlink Mini powered indefinitely, whether it's with a solar panel or a bigger battery. You guys get it. I've actually seen some really creative stuff over on X where people are using DeWalt batteries to power Starlink Mini, which is definitely a good use of extra batteries. I've even used it with a portable power bank like this one from Anker, which estimates that I can get over 2 hours of use. This setup is so small that I could bring this with me literally anywhere. On hikes, road trips, it doesn't matter. As long as I have this little setup, I can get internet everywhere. Speaking of everywhere, bringing it along is not difficult at all. Remember, it's an all-in-one setup, so this right here is all you need. It's the satellite and router, which fits into a package that isn't much bigger than a MacBook Pro or any laptop for that matter. This means I can strap it to the outside of my backpack if it's full. It'll actually fit in my laptop sleeve in my Peak Design 30-liter backpack, and if I'm going on a road trip, I'll usually throw it inside of my duffel bag and try to protect it with some clothing. Okay, finally, let me run you through some of my usage scenarios with Starlink Mini while I'm out on the road so you can see how it actually performs. For this, I'll set myself up in the middle of this parking lot that is completely empty so I have a great line of sight to the sky. At this point, I've also let my satellite establish its connection for 10 minutes or so, so it's done all of its initializations. To run a quick speed test, I'm getting about a latency of 26 milliseconds, about 150 megabits per second as my downspeed with a peak of 190, and a little over 20 megabits per second as my upload. These are speeds that the Starlink app is telling me, but just as another reference, I like to run a speed test on the device that's connecting to the internet, which in this case is my MacBook Pro. The speeds are fairly similar and actually show as being faster at some moments, but can fall just a bit lower than what the Starlink app is reading. Regardless, this internet is absolutely serviceable. This means that when I'm sitting here, I can open a YouTube video and it'll immediately start playing even when I bump it to the full resolution in 4K, and it even starts to buffer far ahead, so video streaming works great. I can also use this connection to flawlessly jump on a video call with someone without any lag, so this connection is just as strong as if you were at home on your Wi-Fi network. There's no drop in frames like you might experience with choppy connection on cellular depending on your position to local towers. It's high quality and smooth throughout. Okay, now let's get into some heavier tasks. I shoot homes for realtors and some days might do 6 or 8 houses. It would be great if while I'm on the road, I could download my finished photos from my editor to deliver them to my clients. Each folder in my Dropbox here is filled with the finished JPEG files from my Sony A1, and those high megapixel images result in a file that's between 40 to 50 megabytes per photo. With those fast download speeds though, Starlink Mini makes slight work downloading one of these folders in just about a minute. So general internet usage, streaming video, making video calls, and downloading larger files is easy to accomplish with Starlink Mini when you're on the road and you've got a good connection. But now let's get into some of the more difficult tasks, and that is uploading larger sets of files. So if you remember, the upload speeds were not as fast as the download speeds, which is usually the case for most internet connections. Most people have a need to download heavier amounts of data, but are not uploading a lot of information, so it just makes sense. Let me quickly give Starlink Mini a softball. Let me try uploading a finished set of photos from a home that usually totals under a half a gigabyte. Now this easily uploads one photo at a time and usually can be completed in under about 5 minutes. To ramp it up a little bit here though, let's try a full set of raw photos that I've captured of a home that I want to upload to my editor. So there are 475 raw photo files in here. Each of them are 50 megabytes in size, resulting in a total size of about 26 gigabytes. When I drag them into my Dropbox folder, they start to go in with some pretty good speed, but ultimately to upload this amount of data is going to take hours. I've found that usually my time ranges between 5 to 15 hours depending on my connection. So trying to upload a ton of data while on the go can be a little bit of an issue with Starlink Mini. Another heavy upload use case is a 4K YouTube video like this one that I might have shot and edited while I'm on the road and I want to upload to share with you guys. We already got a good sense at how long it's going to take to upload larger file sets, but this one is much smaller at about 6 gigabytes. So I found that when you get a good internet connection, you can upload this in about an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour, but it gives you a nice stable connection and uploads all the way throughout without, say, dropping when you're moving around with cellular or sometimes dealing with the up and down Wi-Fi network of a hotel. So Starlink Mini has been a great improvement for me to get online for general usage no matter what I need to do. If I'm here in the Philly area and I'm bouncing around and I have time to just quickly stop, I can put the satellite out, I can do some work, get online, and then bring the satellite back inside, get on the road, and keep doing my thing. Or if I'm going on a road trip, I can bring it with me and get satellite internet wherever I am. I could be in the middle of absolutely nowhere, put the satellite up, point it at the sky, and get perfect internet. I think the one bottleneck is uploading large sets of data. Like, I don't know if I would trust to upload thousands of raw images on Starlink Mini just because it wouldn't be feasible with the current upload speeds, but hopefully with newer hardware as well as more satellites being added to the constellation, we could get better speeds in the future. Regardless, Starlink Mini has been a great game changer for me. I'm always connected no matter where I go, and if you're somebody that's always on the go, I'd definitely try looking into Starlink Mini or any of their satellites because you're gonna get internet no matter where you're at. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Starlink Mini down below, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.